Okay, enough of that. 3 streams, nice, maybe. I think you might be one of the first few to actually claim a, stream streak. Oh, my stream deck reset. Ugh. Hey, Rambling Geek. Mojo, how's it going? Okay. Is everything working fine? Because, yep, looks like it. We got an NVIDIA card. Yes, I do have an NVIDIA. 5060 in this machine. Is NVIDIA broadcast. Why? Nice. Oh, good luck with the print. Well, if I have enough light, this will be good. This works well if I don't have enough light. I don't have a lot of light and I'm wearing a black shirt. This does fine if I have the stream, if they have the key light on me, but I don't like the key light in my face. It's dark in this room, and video broadcast will care. Okay, well, we'll solve one problem. Where are you? Solve the problem. No more phasing in and out. I don't want to use. I don't like NVIDIA broadcast. I've had it installed before. I've had NVIDIA cards, and when it got older than the 2080 Super, I just stopped using it. But I have used it in the past. But it is also a resource hog and flaky. I don't like NVIDIA software. I only have an NVIDIA card in this streaming. So, no more phasing in and out. Problem solved. So, the other night, well, no more phasing in and out. Not messing around with the camera at this time of night. My coding time. I am very stubborn. Because you are also. Install the SDK, no software, just use the OBS plugin. Okay. Do we want me to play with stream settings or do we want to? I'm not. I'll get diverted. That's my problem. I don't have enough time as is. So I'm prioritizing doing the code thing over messing around with stream settings. What was I doing here? Okay. The other day we had an issue with some libraries in my packages. They fixed the latest version. Elgato software has let me down again because it completely reset my virtual stream deck. Awful. I've got to rebuild that out. All software, mess around with stuff. Laugh. So, anyway. Why is this now breaking? It wasn't breaking the other day. So I installed my mediator outputs library in here. This comes with the bug fix for the scoping. And now we're getting a build error. I was meant to fix this today, but I never got to it. So where? Yeah. Build does not contain a definition. Mediator outputs post. Did I remove something in this? Mediator output. Where is this going? So this Postgre. This is meant to do use MPG. Ah, I changed the API and deployed a new API. That's why. There we go. That's that'll solve the problem for me because that's consistent with the other outbots. The other one's got use SQL outbot, but I'd use MPG SQL, and it's not obvious which one I'm actually doing because of the extension methods. So there we go. That's fine. That's that's fine. Do you use the outbots? Yes, you use. Why was that one not collapsed? Okay. Well, let's check. What colour t-shirt I've got on as well. It's a black t-shirt, so I won't solve the problem if I take my sweatshirt off. So what I'm going to do is hold it. One of those. It's fine. I think I sit here quietly too much. Not good to have no camera on. So that should fix build. We should be able to build now and run and test that. Test that we now save things on two different accounts. We logged in as Alan and then logged in as Boomer or whatever I named the account. And when I edited something and then tried to edit it on the other one, it failed because it said that the entity framework context still had a hold of the changes. So we should be able to build this now. That, this. In a short while, I'll go to localhost 4200. So the goal of everything I've been working on of late has been to try and stabilize some of that information sharing. So the big problem you have when you deal with um, distributing the system in this way is the fact that data is not where you think it is, and it's not in the state you think it is, right? So I got this entity updates thing in. It pushes the changes as soon as these have been confirmed. These view receivers push that change straight to Kafka, and this signal endpoint is listening. Means I'm almost immediately pushing down to the client. Yep, this data is there. So we've already guaranteed it's in this view database beforehand. That one nicely. This should be fine. Yep. I think everything is running. Uh-oh. Gonna break. I have to bet it's console. If anything's gonna break, it's gonna be the console configuration not being present. Gotta wait for the breakpoint to hit. Notification outbox already exists. Uh-oh. Well, that's a problem. I thought I'd made the relative isolation. So notification outbox. I did say no. Outbox. In that schema, notification outbox. Right there. This window. After messaging out. Notification outbox. Yes, I know notification outbox already exists. Start planning up. I've been listening to an architecture book. I've mentioned it many times, and of this style of architecture. So this is kind of a bit of a hybrid. It might be. It might be. And one of the things it says is doing this sort of stuff becomes quite the chore. Why it doesn't relation already exists? Notification outbox already. No, it exists. I'm asking you to be that way. um, failed executing if not exists. Namespace schema. But but DF migrations history. Oh, did I do my normal? Oh no. No. 2026 03 01 000 126. Yeah, I did. I did my normal thing. So I have a nasty habit of when I'm without thinking about it. This is one of the challenges with migrations. I have this nasty habit of when I'm messing around with the code and stuff, wiping out the migrations when they don't work and recreating them. If I run this in isolation, if I run the test, right? This is an integration test, right? If I run the test, I bet it will work. It'll work fine because it's going to create everything from scratch. Migrations are going to work fine. This creates a test container, starts it all up, creates the database, executes the process. Wrong headphones? Yeah. But the problem is because I've wiped out that migration, this should be relatively easy to fix. I should be able to migration. Oh, because the migration is not there. Yeah, this should be relatively. Should be able to just drop these tables. And planning should start fine, and then we just have to do it on the other one. So this should start fine now. And that happens in the transaction, which is why that wasn't. That's the problem of my own making. That is the once you start messing around with migrations, you cannot stop messing around with migration. This is going to have to wipe them out of every single one. And if we look, just to confirm that, by the way, if we look at the migrations table, there'll be a third migration. There we go. So even though that's kind of a duplicate of what was there, it's because when I recreated things, I can't do the right thing. I think this is it. Yeah, by virtue of being in here, it's going to be a problem. Attachments, table. Basically, anywhere I've upgraded it needs to be wiped out. Onto or not. Application, table, that's tenant management, table. If I did the same on the Kafka outbox, it's going to be the same problem. I haven't touched that in a long while, so fine. Okay, so we should be able to start now. Narrow it down. That's just a slight detail. Interesting. The bot thing didn't post that I was live on YouTube. Last stream it did. Yeah, that's looking slightly healthier. The fact that it's not the tasks, same thing. Zoom. Tasks. The database I expanded. I forgot about outbox table. Tasks. I I could have solved that a different way. I could have started that from within. Um, Evening Delta. How you doing? Okay. Oh no! Come on. Same problem. Oh, blocked socket. Not that young. I mean, admittedly, it might have been in a primary school. Something on the internet unmonitored. That to make sense. Got my first computer essentially in the 10th grade, I think. Yeah, 10th grade. I mean, first computer with the internet. It was a nut. Okay, go and try this now. Were computers really computers before the internet? I mean, really? Come on. Wait. Commodore VIC 20, then consoles, then Amiga. It was kind of exhausting. I wrote zero code. I worked on a Docker file. I won't say I wrote code today, though. Kind of not really supposed to be doing. A conversation on AI and manning. Also, okay, so this should be a butterly. Now, what we should be able to do is with relative ease, we should be able to update things. If we can't update things now, then I'm back to the drawing board on why this problem is occurring, which would be extremely frustrating. Open that. That. Back in productivity. Again, the amount of investment that we have, that companies have in AI, is going to become a part of everything we do. So, yeah, we should learn the tools, understand how we use them, go from there. Okay, so I've signed in as Utterly Butterly and Alan Butterly. Go to these things. Now, it's not going to update these things. Um, yeah. Um, I mean, you could always take that money and add it to the developers if they'll get you more value instead of asking them to use the half the salary again, which means they cost 50% more, right? Um, anyway, so the idea here is that I should be able to click on one of these. I should be able to edit the actual thing. So if we change this to May, we'll change this from May 15th to May 12th. Save that. This should go through, right? Now, as soon as that comes back down, as that's saved, this isn't going to just change in line. I don't want to deal with inline updates. That would be terrible. But I should be able to get the fact that that is May 12th relatively quickly. Right? We're relying upon that eventual, right? So it's not going to get there immediately. But what should happen is eventually we get May 12th because it's done the round trip. And again, things may take a little while the first time, like primes. He says that with little confidence in that going to happen. Localhost 80 won't be started by default. There is that. There is definitely that. Where am I going? Who am I? What? Come on. Gonna start. There you go, May 12th. Okay. So they agree. Now, obviously, there's a little bit of a lag there. That's not something you're going to avoid. The only way I can think of right this second, and again, I've got to look at the patterns available to me here, is when I send the object up to save it, I send up the object as it was on my side first, and if it doesn't match what the current object is, we reject the change. Because at some point we're going to have to figure out, oh, you're trying to make a change to this, but there's already changes had. Now, that might be an argument in of itself to do event sourcing. Because then I would just say, hey, here's my version, or here's the information I have, and just add it on, and then you can see the change back. Now, theory, if I change this back to May 15th, this should go through. If it doesn't go through, I'm going to cry. Crying was a bit of an exaggeration, but that's exactly what I didn't want to see. Ooh. Ooh. They still have. They got something to learn, that's all. So that failed because the instance of entity type deliverable cannot be trapped because another instance of the same key for value has already been trapped. So the way the way I believe that was going to fix this was the fact that the outbox itself, processing service, was creating one queue processor per instance, and that would leave it open. It's become broke anyway. We're fine. I don't have to drive. Oh. Don't jinx it. So what that does do is narrows it down. Actually, I could have confirmed this before. Okay, Taylor, I'm just taking my shoes off. Fine. We'll go. Taylor lays down underneath the desk. So I could have confirmed this because it's the update deliverable handler that's causing the problem. It's not even the. It was the right thing to do to change the outbox. It's not even this one that's causing the problem. It's actually the one on the back end. But how am I ended up with a untracked or an already checked out entity when I have it set to transient? Or am I not flushing it? So when I go rules update deliverable, we get it from the repository, right? And then we call update async. And it's this that's failing because apparently when we get this repository injected, we are getting context that still has that open from last time. I don't remember this being a problem previously. Because technically, if I'd have updated it from Alan rather than Utterly, it has still been, it should still been conflicted. So how do I roll? How do I get narrowing on this solution? Look at the database. Transient planning DB contact. I cannot make that. Can I do? Can I make that? That fails still. So by changing that to scoped, now I'm not injecting that into a service, right? I'm not requiring that to be. I'm not requiring that to be created at the service time, at the service startup time. I'm requiring that to be created in a scope. So I've actually changed behavior. So let's see if this works. Now works is two-phased here. Works is, does it start up, right? Because if it's going to cause a problem for the service, it'll cause it straight away. If it starts up and runs fine, that's a good first sign. Then we test it. There we go. See, some services are not able to be constructed. And deliverable. Too many things rely upon that being a transient dependency. But is that back service? Is that services in the background causing that problem? Cannot planning infrastructure cannot consume. And it looks like it's the handlers. It can't consume a scope. Nothing to do with the service. That's a dependency service. Copy this message. Aggregate exception. Fine. Hello. Really? This through. Well, I'm looking to see if this is any consistency in what it's actually saying is throwing. It looks like every handler. So I think the problem here is mediator transient transient. So you don't understand the whole lifetimes thing. Well, this is so I made it a scoped service. So scoped is scoped is only really valid for like HTTP lifecycle. So basically, the first time I ask for one in a call, the entire call of the HTTP stack, it will give me one instance. So that will be alive for the duration of that call and then get removed. Um, Transient is it will create one every time I ask for one, and if those things aren't scoped, I'll just get multiple DB context, which is what this behavior looks like, right? It looks like there's a DB context created, still sat out there holding onto something, and then I come in again and try and pull the object, but something else is tracking it. Because Entity Framework underneath does kind of keep hold of those things. Um, so by changing this to scoped, I'd only have one per request, but I can't do this. And I don't think that's actually, I think that's probably by design. That's transient. Add repositories, again, we'll add these as transient references. I don't think that's because they're transient. Because it should be fine. Yeah. Scope service has a longer lifetime than transient, so injecting into a transient is safe. The transient will just use a scoped instance in the current scope. The problematic direction is the reverse, injecting scoped into singleton, which is called a captive dependency. The scope service gets captured and lives as long as it's becoming itself. That's the problem I got rid of here. By doing this, by inserting a scope factory, I can now create scoped instances, and this gets created every time this runs. So it gets created and then disposed of, which means it's giving up those connections in theory. Um, However, it doesn't get me closer to this one because it is this side of things that are breaking. That was a positive change. I don't think Kafka. Let's make sure Kafka's not doing the same old thing. Yeah, I'm doing the same thing here. So we do I service scope factory. Right. This is on a delay as well. Yes, this scope equals outbox scope. Why do you not? Oh, dot service provider. Get required service. Need services if you have um, you can have multiple things set up with different, so that you can have the same dependencies set up with uh, different labels, and you can get so the same interface, but you could get one for a specific type. I'm outbox uh, publisher. So I injected a solid pipe in there. Makes sense. It's after publisher. I don't need it in there. Yeah, publisher. Oh, because oh, very complex. I'm not. I'm not considering. It's an override. The problem is that publisher. That has to be. That's that has to, I don't think there's any dependencies plugging function. No. No worries, Dota. Well, well. Don't forget I stream tomorrow morning as well. Don't throw that. I'm not putting custom exceptions in. So that is a change here. Well, these are tests of. That will now get me a message outbox, which will give me. Quickly set up a double click on it. Bookmark. I have no idea. So that will give me context factory and it all will get created this. Maybe not. Block. Was there a wrong thing, right? So yeah, that will give me scope and it will dispose of that scope when it hits down here. Means that yeah, it will go out of scope before it hits this delay. Delay will pause and then it. Okay, so that's fine. Scope. What? This is just something I should be making a better practice. I should be making sure I'm doing it. It always feels really weird to say, "Oh, I need a dependency injection thing. I can get whatever I want," because it seems that that is a way of taking the restraints off, right? So a developer comes along and goes, "Oh, I need this in there. I'll just inject this. Oh, I need this. I'll just inject that." It doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. So my fear of that has always been the introduction of um, quirky behavior. We'll go with that. Um, Outbox. So again, all I'm doing there is just scope. So once we start the process of getting the next message, yeah. Now that will scope it for that message back around and get the next. If there's many messages, this will be kind of inefficient. If there's a batch of messages, do I really care about having this go in and out of scope? Probably not, but let's fix that up. I've had GitHub data sharing enabled. Oh no, hello. You know, I was just thinking about that on my walk. I have a note on my pad down there. I do apologise. It slipped my mind after the last stream. I know about it. Gotcha. I mean, basically, the hotel parts .net come from a new Aspire project, which will give you the app host, service defaults, and the extensions in here have hotel turned on. And then create another .NET project and include that in your app host. And then you reference service defaults from that project. That will have hotel enabled then. Theory. Do I don't think I do actually anything. It all just comes down to what this is down to. But there's still some things I need to learn there. Completely my fault. I apologize. Put me out there. Okay, so I'm going to create after new release. Go to 7.8 0.2. Blah blah blah. Hotel is great. Is a far thing on this. Load the page. Refresh. Isn't it? Ah, beg to differ. On. After you. 4 minutes. Yeah, 4 minutes ago. There's a change. It's okay, Doc. You're okay. Uh, Use. Oh, what? Oh, iMessage outbox. Do that and see if that builds. So that's for later on, not for right second. So what I've got to try and figure out here is where the lives say. So the problem it's giving me is that this is still, or one of these is still active and holding on to the entity. When I go to update it again, errors. Now that is injected basically by repository. I get repository there, but add repository we're doing here treats these as transient. But if I do those as scoped, I don't think that's going to give me any different behavior. And I don't like guessing here, but I'm not quite sure how to trace through all the different paths here. Because the it's multiple requests that are causing the problem. So if I do it the first time, it updates fine, no issue. Something's holding on to it from that first request. Yeah. So this has got the same problem. You can't inject because add. Okay, dog, don't panic. Um, I realizing what you asked me to do, Melanie, which is actually do the steps for how to do this, how to set up a project with it. My demo solution one. So a new project. Honey, hello. How you doing? If that's take his sweet time. Add project via app host. Take some time today. I'm like to dry do it. CLI from a Docker container. Yeah. There are CLI commands for all this. I know that. I used to do it in the command. I wouldn't know how to do it in the commands for the second. Right in CLI. So we're used to doing it this way. You create a service defaults project. The service defaults is what contains the open telemetry. So now with those two projects, we'll add our new project. It will be a console application. Aspire, yeah. Aspire adds all the it scaffolds out all the stuff and then And then we add a reference to service defaults. This is probably not the best project to add because I need to do more. Not the best project to add. The best adding a website. It's not that I can't do it on a console app. It's just that there's way more to do on a on a console app than a web project. So a simple web API. Then you add reference to your service defaults. Here, say builder, add service defaults. That gives me the service defaults. Then an app host over here, builder.add project, reference to that project. They changed that naming convention. Web application 1. And then when you start app host, oh, they're casting that. Have to be. Give me the. Oh, you put underscores in there. There's no way that's a built-in thing. Oh, and then like the web app. The app host, not the web app. So for reference, the web app started fine there. That should start Aspire. Doesn't demo very well anymore, this. Takes too much time. Then I have my web app with its endpoints. I have the console. So the console is the regular logs and the structured logs. Again, that gives me all them traces. And that's by adding the service defaults reference into the app using Hotel 1.15. There we go. And it will start the app off. Apex, good evening. How are you doing? I can send this project over to you if you want. Quite interesting. I have to go through that pain. Okay, so back to this. Yeah. Yeah, I'll put it in a repo. A shortcut to do this on Rider anymore? Version control. There. Simple. Hold on, no. Can't do that. That's terrible. That folder. If I do it that way, I'm going to end up with all the bin and D files in there. Ignore. That would have been dangerous. Made every bin and D file. They created a default. Get default. Get ignore by default. Open it. I'm a geek. Rest well. Good night. Been hanging out for a bit. Hope your print went well. What's the git ignore site? The site for it, right? Git ignore. Can't tell. Nice. .NET. Hi, hello. Welcome in. How's it going? Been a while. Drastically to files there. Um, well. One to do. Make application. Find remote. I lost the ability to, once I initialized that, I lost the ability. Oh, curious. Yeah, easily fixed. Busy with work, bugs in the UAT build. Oof. We're good. Happens. You push. Oh, okay. So join me this evening trying to figure out how to diagnose multi-request lifecycle database. So this is going to be a challenge. Not often deal with. Normally I get this scoping correct. Somewhere along the lines, I've added something or I've changed something, and that these fall out of whack. Now either my services are conflicting, so I have in every system now I have several background services running part of every website to do checks on outbox, to do all sorts of things. If one of them's holding on to it, that would explain it. However, in this case, I have No, no, because those services would also be falling over themselves. And what's happening here is with this, why did I just right click and unload? Why? You don't want to do that with 96 projects. So the change I just made to the Kafka side of the outbots, that would have the same side effect. Now again, it's hard to explain from a life cycle, but um, that's so. Uh, so when I come into a service, the API is here, and you can dislike or like this however you like. Fine. You go to the application layer, and magic happens. Repositories, blah 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 blah. Oh, where's you? Um, so we have the application uses repositories and writes to the database. For once, I'm not going to draw a little database. Um, and this has a DB context in it. Right, keyboard. Oh, we save it to the database. At the same time, we have we have two outboxes. We have an outbox or mediator. And what happens is when we save data into the database here, once that's saved, once we've got confirmation that's saved, we have an interceptor that checks to see if there's any events on the model that then says, "Oh yeah, I've got changes. I need to send things." And what that does is writes them by the outbox. Right? So I suppose that's more there, right? Oi, hello. How you doing? Appreciate the look. Um, so much. Okay. So this writes to an outbox mediator, and what that does is decouples everything in the API from the notification to the rest of the system. That means that I can just worry about, did I save the data? Yes, I did. Everything else is a side effect. Everything else is running outside of that process. At the same time, there's also a Kafka outbox backing up, because once this mediator, so essentially the mediator itself goes back into the application layer. It's now capturing events that happen, and this does something similar. But part of that will be, oh, I need to publish stuff, so it will go to Kafka outbox. That's constantly polling. Now this outbox again is in the database, but it's a completely different DB context, as is this one, which is why I was confused. So it's the right thing to do to get these involved, but I don't think they're holding on. Now, this one will create another repository. So this outbox mediator will create another repository, right? Because this could update data, this will query the data. It has to query the data, right? So this is kind of like these are the event handlers, I suppose, domain event handlers. And then this publishes out to Kafka, or it can do other things. It can figure other things happening, all sorts of other things. But that's the general flow. So we do have the repository opening a DB context here. We have the repository opening a DB context here. These DB contexts that are open as part of these are isolated, but by virtue of them being their own uh, um, scope, right? They are a service that creates all this and kicks all this off. Then they're going to create instances of these if they're triggering this specifically. Is going to create instances of the application, which means it will be creating the repositories, and there'll be another version of this outstanding. So what I thought I would have fixed is by putting a scope on this one, this would have done its work and then gone out of scope, and everything would have been fine. Doesn't mean it couldn't still conflict, because if that was open at the same time and this was processing, that might create a problem. But the way the error's happening, it suggests it's all within this phase here. So I'm a little confused. Update the Kafka extensions library. That's all gone through. You get now. Now, again, I don't think this will create any sort of difference. I don't think this will have any impact on anything. It just seemingly good practice that this is scoped properly and not just sat there. Now, if it doesn't get disposed properly, I could create a memory leak pretty quick. But I'm not holding on to too many resources there, and everything should be managed. The life cycle should be pretty well. But don't expect that has changed a single thing. That was just because I could. We'll start that up. These are always the problems that will trip me up, because I don't, just from my experience of using AI, even if I was to point AI at this problem right now, the number of changes it would make in guessing at the solution would be terrifying. Um, because it can't run the application, can't see the behavior. And it's really hard for me to describe, to be honest, unless I'm not configuring one of these things correctly. Um, let's ask. Let's ask Copilot. I'm not asking. I'm not getting Claude involved in this code base. I'm okay with asking questions about the code base here, but yeah. Um, the observability in this case would have to be telling me about object life cycles being. There's only one tool I've ever seen that does this really well. It gives me insight into the actual life cycles of the DB context and stuff, and that was um, Oranini's Rhino. What's it called? The Raven DB tooling he created. He created a tool for monitoring the DB context, and it will tell you, hey, you've got, because it basically became a profiling tool. Um, um, Ayn Rand, um, Raven DB. I know, right? Old. Oh, hibernating rhinos. I doubt the tool exists still. Okay, the tool still exists. Fascinating. Anymore? Full .NET Core support. Oh, yes, 6.3. This hasn't been updated in a few. Yeah, this is .NET Core app 3.1. Yeah, we're not going to download that. We're not going to use it nowadays. Point. But either way, that was the best tool I've ever seen because it would actually um, it would monitor all the creations of DB contexts and be like, oh, you're creating too many. But an AI won't have to navigate it. Yeah. Um, I'm getting an error. Let's get the error. Get the actual error before I even put that together. So again, if I go into this one, oh, helps if you start the application up, not just one part of it. The annoying thing is when I see it, I'll probably uh, well, no, I'm hoping it's an obvious one. I'm hoping it's a oh, it was just me being an idiot and not creating the right thing, and not a oh, guess what? Everything changed. Again, if I had to guess, it would be because I've created these services that also run parallel and create some quirkiness of what can be injected. Although it looks like um, mediator library requires me to create transient references. Um, that's another challenge to overcome. Um, you got to tell if you're talking to AI about uh, mediator, you have to specify Martin Ottoma's version. Otherwise, it'll default to mediator because that's the most popular used one, and you'll get all your information correct. They have very different ways of creating things. Using mediator, but let's see. Running, awesome. The AI, the first thing it does is, oh, inject a service scope factory. Do everything through that. I dislike that. It's going to create all sorts of messy code. Got to be a cleaner solution. Time? Yeah, there we go. The planning. Interesting that both. We're going here now and change this to the 15th. Yeah, what I'm trying to make work here is actually this. And when I get over this hump, which I will get over, when I get over this hump, I will have a more stable platform overall with a better understanding of the moving parts. And as long as I don't make quick fixes to try and make it work, I should be okay. I need to be very deliberate at this phase because this will set me up for success or failure later on. Because if I don't understand the solution to what I do here, Like, this is why I don't like the idea of AI here right now, because if I don't understand the solution to what I'm doing here, it, it's just dumping code in there for the sake of it, and then that's harder to maintain later. So what that's done now is that's gone and saved, and again gone through this process. It will zigzag through this process, ultimately publish something to Kafka, and once it gets in there and gets picked up by the receiver on the view side, that'll pick it up, and when this opens, see that says May 15th now. About there, May 15th. So it's updated the data because it now knows that was stale and it needed to fetch the latest data. But it's not going to fetch it every single time. Right? What this is giving me is this optimistic UI of, as long as I don't refresh, I'm good. And this happens in a lot of apps. This is not something that's just I'm making up, right? Now, if I go to edit this now, this will error. It'll error with a red box up here because it's going to say planning, going to give error, say the entity was already being tracked. So what that means is um, another context has it open and open for changes, and can't touch it. Now, if I had a subscriber in here, so I change the deliverable. These are deliverable event handlers, right? If one of these was with no tracking, I could believe it. But these are actually all no tracking. So in all cases, whether I update the status or I update the thing, I'm doing no tracking. And these specs deliberately say no tracking. So I can't possibly be using these. It's not possible that these are the one. This is the context holding on to it. So it means that uh, this, when it's being created, is not disposing of that DB context. And then the next one's coming along and saying, "Hey, I need to change this." And it's like, "Oh well, no, it's already locked." That's interesting. Update deliverable. I up. How can I do that? What? That makes that even more confusing, not less. That's clearly working. That part of the problem. Deliverable by identifier with no tracking. That's not right. So you have to load. Hold on. Is this a case of me putting the wrong type in there? That'd be awesome. Then I'll go to the other option that the robots give me. Deliverable. So I need. The problem is I need these dependencies attached because I need to load them in, change them. So is there something else? And I like specs. The specs library is really awesome because it means that I can contain all my query and stuff and just refer to it as a name. And that's awesome. I can reuse it. I can do whatever I want with it. Mostly it's just because I can name it. And this stops me having large chunks of link in my code. I like specs. Deliverable by identifier with spec specification. Deliverable and I specification. That's necessary if you're going to get one back at a time. I'm going to pull this. Copy that. And we're going to remove the no tracking of it. So something made me do the no tracking version of that. File. Fine. All specs are here. Okay. I'm going to run it again. I have one other change to try and make, which is to change mediated to be scoped. But I've tried that before and it's not gone well. But we'll see. Jones, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Likely not around. I don't know when that message was sent. I didn't have that screen up. And my chat window up there doesn't show me. So if you are new to the stream, if you're just hanging out, have any questions, thoughts, opinions of what I'm doing, you're more than welcome to join in. I'm not doing this because I'm pretending to be absolute expert on everything ever. Sharing what I do and how I do it. Push these and see how it goes. Reverse T-shape. Everything ever. We got an expert here. Okay, so let's move back. 12. That. These go through. Okay, that went through fine. Sorry, white screen. You're expiring in 12 hours. Console will be inaccessible after license expiry. I would be really sad if it means that I don't have any access to any of them. I would be very sad. Okay, so if I go back here, that loads the 12th. Okay. Now that's changed. Now if I go here and change, ooh, that's interesting. Ooh. That did not do what I thought it would do. The point working a stream of what cloning Rails, I have a script running OBS bridge and I have a AWS instance providing local SNS SQS services. The web server can send messages to the bridge. The data that the bridge populates in right. Interesting. So cool. Huh. Yes, bridge. Hmm. I don't think that would have done it. I don't think that did what I hoped it would do. Topics. If this becomes inaccessible, I will be very mad. OBS is WebSocket support. You can try to invent. I know it has WebSocket support. I know it was flaky for a long time. 14th. That might have actually taken. Oh, that did not take. We definitely changed it to the 14th. There's the 4th date. Oh no, they added you Dingleberg. Yeah, 14th. There you go. Review. Oh no. Yes, review date 14th. Entity changes. Deliverable. I refresh this and it says the 14th. The update went through. Yeah, trying not to stress it out as why I have the bridge. One connection, single command at a time. Nice. Right, so you brought on it there and not hit. Okay. Plus few, but I also get my 10. Ah, nice. You streaming again soon? That went through. This is the 15th. We've still got some jank happening here. That to the 12th. Save. Well, that no tracking was everything that was tripping me up. But it changed. I'm sorry I missed you. I did not. Did I sit in my room yesterday? No, I did not sit in my room last night. And Twitch notifications are terrible. Otherwise, I would have. If I'd seen you online, I would have been there. No, I went and sat outside and watched TV with my wife. And fell asleep on the sofa. Oh, yeah. Why last night? So that one change was my entire problem. I'd put in no tracking. That was no tracking. That means that was attaching it. I didn't think that worked that way. Yeah, I like hanging out. Update and that's on set. You know, when I was trying to mess around with repositories myself, this always made me fearful because I'm like, well, hold on. I'm doing a repository and I have multiple calls and I make it transparent, then it's a side effect. Save changes is a side effect. And that scared me because it doesn't feel right to do it that way because that commits to the database technically. Doing a transaction is fine, it won't commit to the database, but then you have to wrap everything in a transaction. So that got me. I avoided this design for the longest time, and I started looking through this code. I'm like, oh, that's how it's done anyway, by well-respected developers. Just yet another lesson of just because someone writes a lot of code doesn't mean it's going to be any better than anything. That self-doubt and imposter syndrome can kick you in the butt at times. But either way, that was causing my entire problem because now I'm happily changing it on both sides. Is that back to the 15th? Is it bad that every time I'm like, please work? Topics, deliverable, 744, 47, there you go. 15th, 15th? Yes, I'm 15th. A big problem now is I don't think the notifications again. Entity changes. And these are the signals, right? Essentially, entity change signals or whatever. And there's the 747 one. So that should have notified this. Okay, so edit's getting through. And this is where I am using AI for the front end. When I open edit dialog. I've got used to Claude having access to the browser to the point where when I start asking it something, I'm like, I imagine it's got context of what I'm looking at right this second, and I have to stop myself and think, it doesn't necessarily see what you're looking at. You make that the 16th and save that. And again, I don't want to be too aggressive on this. I don't want to be pushing this. I don't want to be changing this UI at the same time. If you look at other applications, if you look at Jira, it doesn't do that. I mind reading. I just stick the probes inside of my head. You can read my own mind. A scary place. Hi, Luke. So, um, check on me. Oh, near it. I don't think that's too far away, if I'm being honest. So, yeah, if you look at other tools that see, yeah, it definitely took. Good. Probably. Um, but that's fine. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to say, hey, the data's changed. Let's go load it. And you just don't know. But at the same time, if you're in there, could you? Oh, dang! I was asking it to query something else. When a user edits a deliverable, saves, then opens the edit dialog again, the dialog shows the old review date. This happens because load by identifier uses an IIFE scoped map cache that never invalidates. It returns the originally fetched object forever. It ignores updates made by the entity. Replace the IIFE cache. What is an IIFE cache? An acronym for something I don't recognize. Immediately invoked function is not a type of cache. It's a JavaScript function that runs immediately after it is defined. I want to tell the robot. Um, oh well, replace the IIFE cache approach. Check the entity store first, which has fresh data from optimistic updates and server config, and only call the API if the entity. So I would show the screen, but my buttons have all gone because apparently Elgato don't like don't like building software that works. Yep, so it's removed the cat. Okay, that's done what it should. So if I open this now, I set that back. Let's set that to. So if I am in a page and it changes, should I reload it? I think you probably do want that to happen, don't you? On this screen, you don't care. You're not in the object. What would you want that behavior to be? I don't think I actually know what Jira does either. There you go, mate. Okay, they made. There we go. There's better behavior. Okay, so let's update. Let's stop that another thing. Yeah, so technically I know that you're looking at the object right now. Now, what's happening is when I push an update, because you're subscribed for our tenant through the deliverables topic, the deliverables channel in um, signal are, you get told, "Oh, by the way, this object just changed," and all that does is invalidate the cache for that object. And so next time you go in there, by the way, next time you click on it, you need to load the server version. It doesn't push the data down. It just says, "Hey, you need to change this next time." But I think I probably want what I want to have happen there is um, I believe that was my big problem. Such a lucky break. Um, what I probably want to have happen there is, oh, by the way, this object changed. But do I take into account anything you've got pending and reload what's there? Monitor current session. Uh, Update to latest branch feature signal R by branch feature signal R update sorry, that did update to latest library outbox mediator and Kafka outbox. My inability to handle beeps and bloops. Oh no, my daughter's having to do 3 days worth of work. Update to latest libraries for mediator Kafka bots. Commit that one. I wanted to branch this straight away because obviously I've got other changes that I want to do. I don't want to be sat out on the changing to development. Um, which update deliverable tracking still bugs me why it was working that way. But it'll do the first update, like it applied it and then just left it out there. User tracking must be to do with the lifecycle management on that, like on that tracking thing where it says, "Oh no, let's let it go now." Deliverable tracking query. Yeah, this one I'm going to use because I want to see if it can. This actually does a terrible job. I've been using GitHub Copilot on the web to generate some commit notices in way more detail. Oh, actually, I've been using GitHub Desktop, and if you press this button in GitHub Desktop, it gives you quite the description. Enhanced intended outcome display with Markdown support and improved data fetch. Oh, fine. So what I'm trying to do here, trying to What's this different? LLM. Yeah, I think WebStorm's a little bit behind. The, and how is this different? Which part? The how? You good, dog? You good? You good? Fairy tales. Um, LLM was in what I'm doing right now. Mojo, you mean? Um, there's no. This is my first page that I'm looking at here, right? I'm looking at testing this behavior. I've got to. I'm going to have to implement it on everything. Ultimately, everything's going to get a version of it. You cannot have my hand. I need my hand. Um, I thought the work items. You leaving me? Okay. Bye bye. Um, so what happens is right now I open. Oh no. Console. Fail to leave group. Not send data if the connection is not in a connected state. What? Why are you not started? Well, that'll be a reason. So when I move to planning, it joins deliverables and sprints. When I move to implementation, it leaves deliverables and sprints, joins the group deliverables for this screen. There's no task group yet, so that doesn't join that yet. So this is leaving and joining signal our group to get notifications. I just need to get these aligned, and the way it did it, the way it did this is actually pretty impressive. Um, to me, it is anyway. It basically right. Uh, basically, when it sets up the routes, it actually attaches this method and says, "Oh, these are the entities you need to sync," and that makes it available for notification in anything that's loading those routes. So I can actually, at the route level, oh, this is it, generated. Well, this is the application. But at the AI level, you can do okay. So when I set the routes up, I just say, "Oh, these routes, you care about these sync things." So it's pretty good because it means that once I'm um, once I'm in these pages, I'm connected to those groups. I just need to add them in there, and I can go to whatever groups. But what I'm using this as an experiment to make sure everything's lined up. So again, when I click in here and edit this and move back to the 13th, save that. That's not going to hit over here for a minute or two, potentially, right? It could be the system could be going slow, things could be happening. I don't know. Um, Again, it's why this isn't the final solution here. The final solution has to be some check when I go to save. Is the data you're sending me stale from the last time you updated, right? But this now will sit here on May 18th until I come out of it. When it updates in the background, I should be able to go in there and that say May 13th. That's the goal. No idea when it'll happen. Could happen. Unless this disconnected as well. Yeah, this disconnected. That just demonstrates the problem, right? I can fall out of sync with the server. In this case, this is a development issue, but it's still a challenge. But if I refresh, that's going to say May 13th. So if I'm in the object itself, it matters. Lay down. Lay down. Because if I'm sat here trying to change it and something changes on the back end, you probably want to get notified. By the way, this object has changed. What I'm trying to do is determine how far I want to go down this, this path right now. But a decent stepping stone be show me when someone else is looking at this item. Kind of like when two people view my Miro board. No. Might not be a bad idea. That would be a way. Um, what? Talking of synchronous problems, I'm now trying to click on my text message that I just got, and system UI isn't optimized for the latest version of Android. Just close it and turn it back on again. Fair enough. In my head, that'll help figure out how to manage the state of two observers. It's not necessarily two observers, it's the problem of data synchronization. If I change any of this data, right, I go in here and I say, okay, well, we're going to set this that says May 13th. And this should have reconnected to the signal our hubs are set. That's because I stopped to start the server with the page open and then tried to just refresh and you know, and the signal had been disconnected. So anyway, I changed the date and I changed date to change, making sure defining is the default status. And I change, yeah, we'll do that. I'm changing this, I'm changing this, I'm changing the date. Right, when it's being observed. Can it? Thank you very much for coming hanging out. Appreciate it. I know it's very late for you. And rest well. Have a great meeting. May it go quickly, distinct and to the point. Take care. Potential editors, I guess, but I imagine this is only important when the item is being observed. Yeah, to show the editors is fine, but there's a data consistency problem. If I go in there now, like if I don't refresh this and I'm still sat in here and I go now and edit this, what happens? Well, right now it's just going to overwrite what I did. It's last in wins, right? Is that what we want to happen? Probably not. So I do have the option of saying, by the way, this data is stale, refresh. And then I store what changes they've made locally and reapply them, right? Or say, by the way, this changed. You know, what's the right case there? I don't know. There's other things they could do as well. They could add a requirement, right? Adding a requirement. This is an updated requirement. I should see on user screen. I think that the idea of showing, oh no, 043. What? Oh, that's legit. That's legit. I might be over obsessed with sessions, but I'm not quite sure. What do you mean by session? Connecting sessions could be a thing. Live docs in Confluence is yeah. That's more like the chat app, right? That's back and forth. That's true. I'm not pushing those changes. I can't. If I make a change here, I can't push it through Signal to here. That's because the data isn't there. In that live doc instance, they probably are, they are handling that probably by synchronizing what each person's doing and then syncing that to the server. I'm not. I don't have that luxury. I have a triangle of processing. And we're not doing live updates here. These are very deliberate actions. Live docs are made for more collaboration, and I think they actually do expect you to kind of be talking about it at the same time. Ads are about to start, by the way. If you are not subscribed, well, use case in this scenario is very different, right? In this case, I am going in here now. The reality is, I shouldn't actually have to worry about this. I shouldn't be changing someone else's planning, right? I shouldn't be going in and messing with someone else's deliverable, but I have to deal with the situation, and it's going to be more relevant here. So if I go back now and go back in, that says May 12th. This has that text now because now it knows, oh, this is stale. Let's go get that. This doesn't update, right? What I could do, let's try this. When I'm trying to do deliverables, hub and event. Change should refresh the backlog. This might actually be a good test. Actually, a good visualization. My stupid bridge control screen has live updates. It's a backend generated website, but if you have two copies open and make changes, there is a WebSocket open and subscribe that refreshes everything on both browsers. Yeah. Well, that's essentially what I'm going to try and do here, right? Try and say, no, not there. I'm going to try and say something changed, update this screen, because this is a more practical screen to refresh, right? Because this is a data screen. I'm not changing very much data in here. If I go into this, I can change it, but having it refresh is acceptable. Mojo's idea of showing there are multiple editors in here. Now, I know from Jira experience that if you see multiple people sitting there, no, because Al Jazeera is a news feed, right? So there's no bidirectional requirements there. In this case, you and I can both go into this screen. both of us could go into the screen and edit this data, and it's a last in wins. Now, in some systems, that's actually perfectly acceptable. You assume that the person who updated it last is going to update it with the correct information. So last in wins is an acceptable use case in some scenarios. Let's go and edit this. And the reason that button didn't work before is because I don't have the permission for that and I shouldn't show it. Right? That's actually an easy fix. And that requires me to know user permission. That would be, would it? Deliverable update. Oh, I thought I put permission. What permissions is it checking? I got a 403. Make them all live docs. Well, again, we gotta look at the situation. Oh, there we go. It's doing the changes. Just basically put, ooh, oh heck no, no AI, no, no. Please tell me you didn't do what I think you did. Ooh. That's going to make that challenging later. Microsoft collects the changes across sessions. Yeah, that's what live docs is going to do, right? And it's the behavior that's expected because when I make a change, it's going to signal to you this person made a change. It's also going to signal to the server this made a change, so capture the change. You see the change almost in real time. Similar, right? And then what it'll do is when things go quiet a little bit, it'll go, okay, now flush the current state to the database. So the idea is to show you what it looks like. So if you and I are overwriting each other, it's not constantly updating the bad data, right? It makes sure that we've seen it first and then says, yep, everything's good. We've got no changes going on, so let's flush it to the server. In this instance, that's not the way this system works. The way the system works is you're making a deliberate change. You want to say, I'm saving this data, go. And it pushes it straight to the server. Live update in this case wouldn't make a great deal of sense for me. Because it's a deliberate action you're taking. It's not like a live edit sort of situation. I'd have to change that to be, oh, well, you click the pencil and it updates in their screen. And then when they don't do anything about it, then it saves. And then what you could do then is if the system crashes, you could lose all your data. And that's the same, that's the risk with the live change. If it doesn't synchronize pretty often or flush, then you could end up with completely missing docs. This is horrendous. There's only one entity change service, entity sync service, and every single type I'm going to ever have is going to be in here with its behavior. But this just triggered me a little bit because this refreshes the store. So yeah, that's kind of nasty. Yeah, the expected pattern here is not the same thing. So. Okay, however, if I change this now to May 13th, May 14th, also I need to understand why that gave me a 403. What we should see is in a second or two this refresh and the show May 14th. assuming the hubs are still connected. That might be one of the better demos of things actually working. Also, I have no idea how long to wait without going clicking on something else and risking stepping away. Oh, this is definition of madness. Um, I don't think that's connected. Oh, it is. That did at least update when I clicked in. Uh, Back. That got notified. Well, I changed the signal store. Let's do this one. The idea is you can edit in the other screen, but you edit in this one. That one's definitely connected. Would be deliverables grid. So Jira has roughly 5 suggestions to solution. Well, this exact problem. Am I literally trying to solve a problem that even Jira doesn't have? If they do last in, also I just found out I have an extension called who's looking. Use my first suggestion. They don't have that by default. Hold on. Am I trying to solve a problem that Jira hasn't solved, and they don't have the who's looking at by default? Oh, geez. So I could be sending myself crazy here. I solve a problem I can't solve. Outlook grid update. So they do last in. They assume that two people aren't going to be looking at the same thing and trying to touch the same Jira ticket at the same time. Okay. Nice. Thank you. Stony, hello. Well, that makes me feel a bit better. I'm trying to solve a problem that's not even solved by them. You streaming tomorrow, Stony? I need to do show. Oh, hello, Loki. Really? Did you hear me say Stony? Really? Yeah, in a bit, bud. You got 40 minutes. Come on, go lay down. Go lay down. Get cookies. Come here. Come here. Because I know he'd want you to have a treat. Come here. Up. Come here. What's this? Come on. Come on. Come on. Up. Up. Come on. Up. Hey, good boy. He was trying to do the right thing there and lay down. Saying, please. There you go. Good boy. Come on. Down. Down. Kayla. I'll give her a treat, but she's not jumping up at me. Go one more, bud. Come on. Up. Up. Come on. Up. Good boy. In 2015, they said, not right now, to issue locking. Wow. Okay. We'll go Cam when. I get off my lazy butt, actually do it, or clean my room enough, or organize, not necessarily clean, organize my room to get cameras working properly in the right space. Okay, so let's edit this now and let's see if this works. Okay, so as much as I would love to solve the problem, the fact that they don't solve it suggests that that's a hard problem. And one person trying to do this is going to take a lot longer than I really want it to do. So, push the behavior out. That's going to hurt. Still not working. So server values when new data from other users actually shows up. Unexpired optimistic updates are preserved. If you save something locally within the 30-second TTL, your change isn't overwritten by a stale server response. Interesting. You got 30 seconds. The backlog grid reacts because reconcile from server sets all entities which updates the signals that filtered items depends on. Not bloody working, is it though? Oh, don't you start with the green screen stuff. It's just this, it's the software I'm using. And I've got a black shirt on and no light. That's how the stream started. I don't care. I'm not downloading NVIDIA broadcast. I'm not downloading software. Don't have very good light because I don't like having the bright light in my face. You want the stream to be, hey, let's play around with the settings and mess around with the camera for half an hour, then come on. We'll go back there now. That says the 17th. I navigate in and out. Still says the 16th. Not grumpy. Not grumpy. I just don't like it. I mean, I don't have that much time to stream as is. And if I start messing around with the stream at the beginning of the stream or later on, then I'm not doing the code that I want to do, which is why I stream. Just my way, right? I'm not grumpy. Dwarf. I don't think I've ever had that. I'm going to use a poor choice of words there. I don't think I've ever been called small. Backlog grid reacts. The grid doesn't refresh though. The grid. Doing good. So what I'm doing right this second is I'm just asking the AI to see what it thinks in terms of updates. No, 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 no. You've got time yet. No, you went earlier on. We're going out in a bit. And if I let you outside, you're going to go outside and bark at neighbors. I know. I'm mean. I'm such a meanie. It cuts them out. He's crying full on into my face. I don't know if you see it. I wasn't looking at the camera. I don't know how much of it you see. Obviously, being black dogs, they do get cut out quite a bit. Loki, particularly. Okay, so the issue is the merge strategy. Looking at the entity store, all merge methods use server entity existing. Existing. Stop. Stop. Um, Again, this is my problem with what the AI is doing now. The AI has decided that I've got this method of doing the updates, and now it's going to switch that method because of this problem. So now I'm worried that I'm going to break things I've already fixed. Okay, let's see what it says it's going to do. Primitive dragging and dropping. That's earlier on. So when hub entity changed event arrives, entity sync service fetches the updated entity and calls merge enrich. But merge enrich uses dot dot server entity dot dot exist. Existing values win. The server's new values are silently masked by the stale store values. Same problem applies to reconcile from server and load from server. Full fetch or refresh won't help because the same merge direction applies. The fix is to update only the changed entity, but with the merge flips, so server values win while preserving any existing fields from rich projections on pages. Okay, so we're switching it to merged server, use apply server update. I mean, the fact that we're telling you it's changed. So there's still a condition, there's still a race condition here, right? There's still a what happens if I've just changed this object and now the server update comes in, right? And my changes come around. I can still lose here. Um, which means this doesn't solve anything. It just kind of negates the scenario of, oh, you're kind of out of date. If I'm not if I didn't just change it, um, then it's okay. But if I just if you changed it and within a few seconds I change it, my change wins. And from what Mojo's saying, that's exactly how Jira works. But that's the compromise they've picked. Kind of interesting. Now, if I go here, and then I know I'm obsessing over some tiny little details, but this is setting the pattern for how I want the data to update on all the other pages. This is setting the, we'll move to sprints and you'll see sprints move, right? To be fair, someone from Atlassian said their current architecture would need large changes. Okay, give it a chance. We're going to update that one entity. That's going to change to May 21st. Any second now. Any second. um, what ironic. Well, that's the problem, right? You develop a piece of software that's now getting on for 20 years old, a bit long in the tooth. You can skin it as much as you want, sell it as much as you want, but sometimes you need that technology. You're not working, are you? You're just not going to work. Disappointment. I bet if I click into it, it's the 21st already. Yep. Got panic about that. Actually, let's make one other change. Let's do this. Let's edit it here. Change this to 20 to the 19th. Okay. Lie down, Tails. What I'm going to test now is if I hit the pencil icon, does this change? You're okay. Come here, Tails. But if I hit the pencil, 21st. You're okay. We'll play in a little bit. I promise. 25 minutes. My paw. My paw. My paw. I don't understand. Fine. What I'm trying to determine is it really? Get your nose. Get your nose. If you click in it, 19. Oh no, that didn't actually change ever, did it? No. Stop. You're being annoying. I didn't change to the 19th. I hope this doesn't break. Stop. You're being a poop. Come on, stop. Come on, lie down. Just for now. Annoying. That says May 19th. What does this object say? So if we go to the topics, the entity changes is the signal that happens when something changes, which it did signal. If I go to the deliverables channel, the topic, and I look at 8:32:56, that's the 19th. If I refresh this page now, that's going to be the 19th. So that's auto disconnected. In the event that they fail to in a way, Jira became goes, oh, we're just a Japanese citizens. Well, that, that's always going to be a problem if you're building an application of this like ambition, right? And this is only a tiny little bit of the ambition of Jira, right? You're building that massive thing. How do you avoid? Okay, so we got full signal connection. Go in here, 20th, save that. Become the villain. This what I just changed there was if you get can't join hubs, try and reconnect. My fear there is that it would just continually. I'm not getting events happening. I don't show events in here. Fine. If I click into this now, is this the 20th? Yes, it is. So that has updated. It just doesn't update the grid. You know what? I think I'm just asking it to put a log statement in there so that I will see the log when things do change, even if I don't see the actual visual change. That will help me debug actually leaving that event, or it's just checks it when it goes into the screen. Um, yeah, this has not been the um, which okay. um, well, hello, welcome in. Thank you very much for the raid. Hope you're well. What are you working on today? Avocado valves. Quite some jobs. Nice. Challenging time. Hopefully that's going well. Thank you very much. Thank you for the raid again. Take care and the rest of your evening. Good in last time we saw you. Okay, so this lost its mind. This part lost its mind. We're going to refresh this. Slightly. Full stop was called. What I'm going to do right this second is I'm going to tell it, hey, you can well, let's got a lot of red. And is this something to worry about? I've never worked with WebSockets, obviously, but I just managed changes across 2 years of current browser sessions. There will be a lot of changes for the current line I need. Not work on the same line at the same time. The one thing you have to get, the one thing you have to allow for with any sort of networking is it's unreliable. You have, no matter what I do here, it's a best guess. And if I really want to fix this problem, I have to put in some level of server check with a rejection. Right? So I have to put in some sort of lock. I have to put in some, and that's a distributed lock. If I have the system distributed across multiple pieces, there's all manner of things that could go wrong in this piece. So that's the one problem you have when you're trying to work on this data. Well, not one of the problems. What is it? The network, the fallacies of distributed computing. If you look that up, this one, yeah. The network is reliable. Latency is zero. Bandwidth is infinite. The network is secure. Topology doesn't matter. There is one administrator. Transport cost is zero, and the network is homogeneous. Right? They're all the fallacies. Use unlock actions, but you can't synchronize them. There's no guarantee that they synchronize properly. Again, you've got to. It's the mechanisms, right? You've got to put them in place, and in the case of this, what you want to do is allow quick edits. You can't do that if you have to unlock it, and then it's like, oh no, I'm not locked. That's why we don't do that in force control anymore, right? We have to make certain assumptions that things are going to work in a certain way. So it's not to say it can't be a solution. More, do I want that to be my solution? Right? You'll drive yourself crazy trying to solve every single problem. Absolutely. Just looking for some movement on this screen. Now nothing. It can take a minute. It can take this long. Base condition on start, good fire. That's fine. Well, that fixed a lot of things. So you should now see these logs in the console when a hub event arrives. Entity sync updated deliverable. Entity sync fetch deliverable. And entity sync apply server update. Well, those two things aren't happening, are they? I click in here now. That's clearly taken, but didn't know. How did it know anything? Because I'm not logging anything. Go in here, hit this one, change this to the 15th. Hmm. That's disturbing. When I was first learning more about distributed computing, it was made very obvious that you have to lower the risk. You can't completely mitigate any risk because of those fallacies, right? There's things that can happen you cannot control, and it's kind of like you have to pick and choose, which parts you're going to accept and which parts you're not. This is not working at all. The hub is well, that didn't even take yet. Is this even doing what I think it's doing? Has it ever taken when I've done this? Um, Chances are two people won't be working on the same lines. Like if you were writing out story details and I was writing acceptance criteria as an example, but I think locking the entire item for action activity is the first step. Again, locking gives you a signal, suppose, but then you have to track locks. What if you and I click the lock at the same time, right? The system's not perfect, um, and that's a lot of overhead. Um, right? But again, I'm driving myself crazy over this, but the reality is, if another big software product doesn't actually ever do this, is that change even allowed? Let's just check quick. Settings, users, utterly. Update deliverables, yeah. Update tasks. This just didn't take. Topics 44, 15. That one never got there though. This one's just completely disconnected. I'll load it again there, maybe. That's where the observer idea comes in. Maybe it polls every 8 seconds in case we both become observers at the same time. Well, a way of doing that would be to create a signal or hub. Um, but yeah, again, you're just adding measures in to mitigate, and then you've got to figure out how does that scale out properly. Hey, no, I've got to stop whistling when I'm on the. I don't know how much it cuts out. I hope it cut that whistle out. Yeah. Um, so to do that, I can't just fix it for this thing, right? I'm using this as an experiment right this second to validate these scenarios and to understand the patterns I'm applying. Um, when I found a bottle to chew. Awesome. Um, but I've got to scale it up. So everything has to have those observers. Everything has to have the events and stuff. So it's just picking and choosing what I'm going to do. And I think reality is that if I can signal to the client that, yeah, the data's changed, that's fine. It's clearly not working though for this one. Um, I, so actually, let's go to this side of things. One thing I've just ruled out entirely and not thought to do is this entity changes. This is a small little service. It has one hub right now and it has one receiver. And this just receives it and signals the hub. And let's put a breakpoint here. Ooh, that's not, was it? That's that. Back here. In there. Make sure they both have the relative hubs connected. Go back in there. Join group. We're in the deliverables group. Go in here. Edit this one. I'm going to change this to 13th. Save that. I'll go back here actually. That says the 13th because my data on this client says the 13th. I don't want to see that breakpoint hit. Oh, there we go. Didn't get there. They're both in the same tenant. And that says join the group. Now, this is deliberately not broadcasting. This is not the tenant. The tenant ID is retrieved when it synchronizes, when it goes to join the group. So if you watch, we go to Entity Sync Hub, unconnected, it's not join. If I go navigate here now, what's the point? There's the problem. Entity type is deliverables, group identifier will be set, right? So accepted entities, deliverable. Oh. I made a stupid assumption. Oh man. I made a stupid assumption. I made an assumption because I was seeing the thing change that it was not just going to the server. The the thing that I was scared the most of, the AI has hidden code as making it look like it was behaving correctly. Um, what it was really doing is it was loading the data from the server anyway, all the time. Let's see if this works any differently now. I'm only dealing with deliverables right now, even though sprints and stuff joins as well. That's because the AI added. But basically, I made an assumption that it was not going to the server every time. I didn't check. Yay. It's totally my fault. Things not working the way I think they're working right a second. F. Okay. We refresh that. Refresh that. One more go here. Triggers Reiki connection open, but the server pushes to you 5 seconds. Wait instant. Oh, what are you doing now? Don't do this to me. Don't do this. Yeah. There we go. Finally got an actual group identifier subscribed, so that's awesome. That one. I keep hitting those breakpoints, otherwise it's pain. Catalog. Join the groups. Go here. Edit this to the 15th. Save that. Our first save. That's fine. Our client's going to say the 15th. That's fine. I'm still got to check this because I don't want this loading server. I suppose it makes sense. Petalix, thank you very much for the raid. Appreciate that. How are you doing? Welcome in. You stream late tonight. I'm not too far behind you, I'm afraid, but I appreciate you coming in. Thank you very much for the raid. I very much appreciate it. Very cool. Raid's always good. We'll pass it on very shortly in a few minutes. I'm just trying to test something. So I've been trying to deal with synchronization between clients today. So using SignalR. See this update to May 15th when I went in because it's loading from the server. What I'm trying to do is have it push, hey, by the way, this changed. But what's not happening is that. So I'm having issues with when I go here, I should leave the group. Yep, that's fine. There's our group identifier. That's our tenant ID and our deliverables group. Fine. Now go back here and we should join the group. There's our tenant ID. It's Chrissy, how are you doing? So, as it turns out, the tool that I'm obviously trying to not use by building this platform doesn't actually solve a lot of these problems anyway. So, what I'm trying to do is push updates to these clients to say, by the way, this changed, so that they don't update, because last in wins. If I change this on my client and you change this on your client shortly after me, your version is the one that's going to take. Even though I think I'm on the right version, mine is going to get replaced. I'm trying to minimize that a little bit. We've been talking about different ideas on how you might do that all evening. Um, a bit of a lost cause, but getting Signal R in here should give me the ability to, because what I'm expecting to see is that to update to May 14th. That's all I'm watching for. I'm watching for that to change to May 14th, and I'm thinking it's not going to work. If I can feel someone is editing alongside passing the event when it updates, yeah, all equipped. Well, yeah, we've been talking about, do we show, hey, we care about this thing, like, oh, Bob and Jim are looking at this thing, that sort of stuff. Um, there's all sorts of techniques here. Now, again, because of the way the system's designed, and I apologize, thank you very much for the raid. I know that you're normally shooting off after your stream, so please feel free. Very much appreciate it. Now, so because of the way the system's designed, right, this kicks me in the backside a little bit with this design, right? So the client goes through the gateway, it goes to the APIs which write the data. That data gets produced and gets picked up by, amongst many others, the view receivers. There's, oh, by the way, I've got data now, so here's my updated data. At that point, once I save it into this database, I push another update to say, by the way, this entity got changed, which gets picked up by the SignalR piece and pushes it to its hub to say, tell the client, by the way, this object changed. You might care about it. It's in your tenant, right? Is SignalR made for client-client synchronization? I thought it was more for pushing server to client. It's bidirectional. So the chat example is the biggest SignalR demo, right? Where you can just build a live chat. SSE would be client to server, a server to client, sorry, SSE. But yeah, SignalR is made for WebSockets in general. So the idea is that it pushes this out here and goes there. And the funny thing is, I actually have a GraphQL endpoint that actually a WebSocket here that is actually doing a better job of signaling it. Uh, right, but does the chat go from client to client, or does it go? It routes through the server. Yes, it goes through the server. You're passing the model over signal, or flagging there's a chat, signaling there's a change. It's an entity change signal that I'm getting. But if I go in there now, that'll pull the 14th because now that data's there on the server. But yes, it's most frustrating, and I'm what I'm hoping to see here is a log, and I'm not seeing that. So I've got to determine, is it me? Actually, I could do this much easier. I look at the socket, entity sync, payload messages. Have messages. Know when I get the message. Well, I didn't just have one classic aha moment of burp, I typed the wrong type. So if I change this again, back to the 15th, yeah, I was naming the server object deliverable, and the client object was called deliverables. So it was never subscribing to the group. Now it's subscribed to the group. Not getting notified at all. Oh, what? Hello, hello. Not yet. Um, that was Loki. Yeah, this isn't triggering anything, is it? It's not. I'm getting the join and the leave. That's the message is going, but that's not. The irony is, this is the actual object I'm talking about. This is the GraphQL WebSocket. This actually does the right thing. This gets the notification. Tells me deliverable was updated. And this actually tells me who, because I use this to do a push notification initially. Yeah, defining a deliverable with the default initial status with review date 5/15/2026 was updated. The GraphQL WebSocket is exactly what I want it to do. But I want to disconnect the GraphQL WebSocket. I don't want GraphQL to be responsible for doing the notifications because right now this is hooked up through Service Bus, and that's even more complex to this piece. I want that piece gone. This is a very thin, I've got data for you to see. That's it. And this signaler is just a, yep, you need to know about data. So yeah, this kind of lives in the area of the application, I suppose, but it's oh yeah, bud, 2 minutes. This level. In general, this application works, right? There's these little quirks that kick me in the butt from time to time. So this evening, I've had issues with data, the database losing DB context, which I learned that because of the way I use databases. So in my application, my update deliverable, right? I had a no tracking query on here. So this is specs. So Ardalis specs allow me to kind of contain the query part. So the code just reads, this is the spec for getting your data, and now there's the code, right? So the specs do this. But I had a no tracking query here, and it worked. It updated. But then what happened is when the next one came in, it errored because now that object hasn't been released, which was very frustrating. So I hit that to the beginner stream, and yeah. I updated. I updated. There's a few libraries I actually share. So the mediator library that I use, um, I added a set of extensions around it for doing outbox behavior. So I have an outbox defined in the local messaging, and then I have a Kafka outbox so for the distributed messaging. So each one of these has its own little outbox for internal messaging, and that's how I make the system reactive. And then that publishes to Kafka. Kafka does the global data has happened. Yeah, I hit that to the start of the stream. Yeah, this is not a tiny project, but it is pretty much consistent. He says until he doesn't get signaler updates. So the problem here is this is the entity changes. This receiver does hit, but doesn't hit that. So let's see. Why would my not be received client group? Let's have a dawning realization. I did the same thing, didn't I? I did the same thing. This is why you don't have strings laying around in your application. I bet you I did the same thing. Please, please be right, but please be wrong because you're an idiot. Oh, the receivers. Now, every one of these is going to be a task that starts, and all this is doing is saying, "Hey, Kafka, you got a message from me? You got a message from me?" And these receivers, and they're called receivers rather than consumers, because I have service bus consumers for events, like domain events across the system, or cross domain events. In deliverables here, this is why strings are very bad in your application. This is not. I've now got 3 different areas to align these strings. The client on the back end in the groups I allow you to subscribe to, And so if I don't limit the subscriptions, by the way, when you come in here, if I don't say you can only subscribe to this hub, then it'll just make up hubs. So the client could just spam as many hubs as you want. Things in threads that we program in sewing. I don't know. I have a shared glossary full of constrings. It's not a perfect solution. So there is a shared kernel in this application, but right now that really wouldn't help because the client is still the one. You'll probably get to reaping the zombie children. There is a shared kernel that would take some of that off. Actually, I could create a shared kernel for this domain. This um, yeah, a shared kernel for this uh, module would actually be. I've done that before. I've created shared kernel at this level. Because there's four different applications starting here. When the applications start, when the services start up, there's four services that actually start for view. Yeah, so I just got to be careful. The central owning object is called Grand Central. Usually it works out better if nobody's allowed to know. Yeah, so we do have, so there's the shared type across all projects associated with this project, right? So there's foundation. Foundation is the shared pieces that matter for both Control Tower and Liquid Sky. Like this makes up Kaizu. This is Liquid Sky. This is Control Tower, right? There's the foundation library there. That's shared all the time. So you get your messaging, so events and stuff that are cross object. They all live there. Then there's these shared libraries that are used throughout the application. So I could put it in this. This is kind of the shared kernel piece of this application. I could put it in there. Normally extension methods are living in here, like grouped by their types. There are some like identity stuff. User permissions live in here. And there's a bunch of behavior around these. So I can create a new permission. When the apps start up, they'll all register the new permission. Or if I change the name of one of these, they'll all start up and do it. So yeah. Okay, so the app started up. We now have hubs that should be connected. This works. I think we might call it a night here. But overall, we're making progress. And again, I'm trying to lay down the groundwork here. I'm trying to make sure that I can update. But we're hoping to see here. We're hoping to see a message appear in here to say, by the way, this updated, and this should change to whatever date I change it to in here. And we do it. Fingers crossed. Should change to the 12th of May. Won't be instant because it's got to go through a route. But yeah. Frank, hello. How you doing? I need some more mods to help me. I haven't been to sea satellites before. Oh, who shouted you out? Stoney's still paying attention. Thank you, Stoney. I do apologize. I missed it. I'm looking at that screen. That doesn't show me a shout out. And then this screen is full of yellow blocks and stuff. So, why didn't you? Oh, it did it. Oh, unknown entity type. What? What do you mean? Unknown entity type. No. He got the message. Okay, robot. So again, I'm using AI on the front end because there's so much going on. We got Entity sync update. It got the entity sync message. That worked. We can see what that looks like. Yeah. There you go. Target entity changed. Arguments, entity type, deliverable. What? You turn shield mode on. What did you press, Tony? Uh, Tony, what did you press? It's me that normally presses the wrong buttons. I'll be honest, I've done that before. Okay, so I did that in someone's stream. I don't think it was your stream. Might have been Too Salty Clown stream. I did it in someone's stream. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. So easy to click, yes. Okay, so it did deliver the entity update, but I'm not controlling that part. So I am controlling that part because of freaking strings. Hold on. One more. We go here to levers. We type. I was tempted to give another shout out to your previous radio. Avocado Violet. Seems doing like studying and yeah, good chill stream to go and hang out in. Just like co-working stuff, learning. And I'm not doing a really great job there because I don't get to spend a lot of time in people's streams. I have been in there before. So the mismatch here is because I'm using the entity type I pass in, but I've got deliverable. So the right thing to do here is change this all to deliverable and make the client change to subscribing to the pubs should be using singular version. What should I be doing? This is a change I'm not sure I want to make, but yeah. So deliverable. But I'm subscribing to deliverables. The design's wrong if I change this just to make it work. The design is wrong. Realistically, what I want to do here is this should be the plural. This is right as the plural. This should be the singular. Right? So if anything, it would be pubs deliverable. Right? No, wrong. Brain work. Oh, no, that's right. I hate dictionary syntax. Why? Why you torment me? I can never remember this one. Array initializers can only use. That's not a dictionary. What's this? Oh, it's all right. I've only been using C# for a few years. I don't want to do new string. That's the problem. I'll tell you what. It's what we do. We can do this, and it's going to give me the shortcut. You're joking, right? Didn't I just do that? Oh, of course. I was missing, the parentheses. That's all I was missing. Either way, so if we say the hub is deliverables, right? So we can subscribe to deliverables, which is the correct language. On the other side of things, we say on the receiver side, we are dealing with a deliverable, which is correct. Our entity type is deliverables. Our hubs look that up. So we say hubs, right? Now we pass in our deliverable, which gives us deliverables hub, and now we push a deliverable. That's the correct language, I think. I don't want to make the change on the client and say, oh, you have to be deliverable so we can align this, because it's not correct. I'm connecting to the deliverables hub because I want a deliverable. The language matters. Okay, I'm gonna give this one more try. Yeah, using / consistent lexicon would help. So about that. Started while running. That's fine because that's me. Interchange get and load. It happens. Okay, let's go. Try this again. One more try. I I I interchange add and create all the time. If you look through this code base, there's all sorts of overlaps on those things. Not deliberate, but at the same time, it's like the key is not to try and overthink it too much. The key is to be willing to change it when you realize that. Not all that compatibility. Okay, the 14th. Do you change to the 14th? Do you even work? Again, it won't be instant because it's got to go all through the house, all around the houses to get there. Ah. Oh, it tried. It tried to load this. I didn't think it'd do that. I thought it marked it as dirty. I suppose it makes sense. I'm trying to grab it. Why are you trying to post all that? It got it. It went to go and get the fresh data. It screwed it up. Message identifier is required. Payload. Deliverable by ID. What's the payload then? Query, copy value. It was trying to pull that. What? Oh yeah. It's a big object at this point. I think I have it better now where create is the parent method now and add goes towards the DB while upload goes to file storage. Great is the act of the combination of these actions. It was this, yeah. So the general guidance there is to use the language of the use the language you use to describe it, right? If you're talking to people and say, "Oh, well, when you create this," like, then it's easy to go with that. I don't care whether it's technically creating anything. If you are adding something, then you use that language because it's much easier to describe it that way. Um, yeah. So I don't worry too much about the technical, more the way you coordinate, the way you communicate that. Um, okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to tell Claude off. You failed me. Worked so hard. Align these things now. Yeah, I'm going to change add to insert. Yeah. Okay. The key area is failed to fetch deliverable undefined. The entity ID is undefined. The hub events property names don't match our entity change event interface. Server is likely sending different casing. Let me check the signal it actually sends. The entity ID is undefined, which means event objects property names don't match. Hub event is arriving, but the destructuring picks up nothing. Let me add temporary log to see the raw event. Try triggering a hub event now. Hold on. Hold on. Are you telling me it doesn't serialize? Is this? Is the casing? But for right now, but it's camel is it's expecting them in JavaScript, in JSON style, right? Action. So run it once more. What I'll do there is just say as JSON object and put serializer around it. Because it doesn't matter what I send it here. I can pass it as a string and it's fine. So I'll just do as JSON object and then I'll have a method. Or just leave it as that if I'm never going to change this anyway. So I want to achieve this one thing. I've been holding on to it all night. And again, what I'm going to do here is this is going to be my pattern going forward, right? So I have to kind of figure this out because it matters. I ever want two properties of the same name but different casing. No. No. No, 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 no. We're almost there, guys. We're almost there. One thing I am learning is that when I stream for 3 hours now, I get a lovely headache. Not as young as I used to be. No stamina. Absolutely not. I'm old. Okay, stamina. Are you showing up tomorrow? Taking a week off almost. Come on. Oh, they're still waiting. This is what happens when I stop it and just almost immediately restart it. It just takes a few minutes for the I know. Um, there you go. Need to convince my boss to let me stream. Fine, right? Let's not wish that on me. I have expensive hobbies. Apex, thank you very much for coming hanging out. Great rest of your evening, and see you soon. When are you streaming next, by the way? Need to give Apex a shout out. Haven't followed Apex yet. I recommend going checking him out. Developing games. I'm playing Rainbow Six Siege and developing his game, and he's been building his game engine, for quite a while now, and it's really starting to come along. The graphics and the design and the face are all going up, looking awesome. I recommend. Uh, but we got to give our work our tired selves. Wake up in the morning, fresh brain, focus on personal projects, go to work after personal projects. Speaking of which, I will be back tomorrow morning. Slow going, but it's fun. I recently added a modding frame and mods to it. Yeah, it's really awesome seeing it come along in that way. It's a thing that you've been working on for quite a while, and now it's to take shape. Is it again? It's really rewarding when you get past that phase. And if anyone's starting their projects and they're intimidated by it, you need to stick in there. If you're feeling bored by it, then it's probably telling you you don't really want to do this. But um, stick with your projects. If you have a passion for them, they're worth sticking with. I'm not just staring off into space. By the way, I'm okay. So need to go to now. Go to go to. I've done this before. And internally screaming. Oh, come on, man. So, my own naming conventions are biting me right now. So on the server, a table has an ID column, an identifier column, right? An ID is internal to this particular database. It's the ID that's used to do all the joining in this database. The identifier is the identifier that's shared. So if that planning item or the deliverable, sorry, a deliverable exists in its own database and it exists in this other database and this view database, the deliverable GUID, the identifier will always be the same. You can still see it in the individual databases. But so that I can deal with proper indexes on the tables, I have a unique ID on those tables. That is the ID there. When I send it down to the client, it doesn't care about the difference, right? So it's an ID. I'm setting identifier. Now it's changed the code. Change the code to account for that. Now, now I got to go with it, and that's another problem. Again, that's not the right thing to do. The right thing to do is make me send the right thing. But the intern defier, extern defier. Now I'm laser focused on something I should be laser. I need to. Ah, it worked. Did you see it update? Yes. Here's a test. What happens if go into this one, I edit it. I'm just being cocky now. I'm just assuming this will do something. Let's see. If this works, we're leaving this design at this point well alone because this will update in real time if this works. We change it to the 21st. If that updates to the 21st, then we win and everything's perfect. Oh, look at that. Look at that. And because I hadn't changed it, you look down there, no pending overrides using the server values. So when it came in, it said, oh, by the way, do you have any changes to this object? No, you don't. Okay, I'll override the page then. If I had changes, it knows that it's changed. It just doesn't. Yeah, there we go. That's what we're ending up on. So we now have a way of pushing changes to our clients. Anyone connected in that deliverable, if you go into it from another page, it's just going to load it from the server anyways. Fine. That's perfect for right now. Right? We can work with that. This gives us a bit of place a place to head. What we can do from this is I can go back and change that to say, oh, I'm going to send you ID from the server. It can translate it. That's fine. We're also going to say now this is our standard. Define an actual template for how we want an object to synchronize. And now I can go through the other things I can input sprints. So the next thing will be, we'll do this tomorrow morning, hopefully. I forget that I'm doing 10 hours. Now the next thing to do would be, oh, because I'm not in that team. Go put Butterly Butterly. Yeah, this is Alan Butterly and this is Butterly Butterly. You are not in a team. You need punch. Save. Running a station boards. We got this one. I guess we need an event for user synchronization. Why? That's Team Punch. Oh, do you remember how the system works? The diagram that I've shown several times, even tonight. There you go. Surprise. So anyway, tomorrow's stream, we're going to focus on if I drag one of these over, does it update the other people? That's what we'll do tomorrow. We'll synchronize sprints tomorrow. Now that should, just for review, that should just be we go here, we say, oh, you've updated the sprint, publish an entity change signal, and then that's it. Oh, we add sprints here. That's it. And that should give us what we need. Cool. That is that's cool. Good progress. Need some progress. Okay. Okay. Well, we are going to go and raid out, I'm afraid. Thank you very much for the raid. Thank you very much for yeah, did you get the update too? I really appreciate everyone coming in tonight. I returning to streaming after taking a long time off to have people still coming back is awesome. We're going to raid iFly Nix. He's working on .NET observability platform, which is close to some people's heart, and yeah, also .NET. So I'll be back tomorrow morning. More of this. This is starting to look more like an application by the day. By the end of the week, I hope to be working on getting all these synchronized and start to move towards delivery. Delivery being the next phase of. So starting to get towards that point where I get to think about deploying it. But anyway, thank you for joining me. Thank you for coming hanging out. I appreciate you all. I will tomorrow. Take care all. Primitive buttons. Oh. All right.